Dawson Rider Wiki.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here. Time for the next video in my Power Rangers Team Up Rewind review series. Wow, say that 5 times fast. This time we're taking a look at Forever Red, one of the most popular and beloved team-ups amongst the fandom, and one I've personally always thought was only okay. So let's do our review recap bit. So we have Andros spying on the Beetleborgs as they're trying to revive Serpentera on the moon. And so then we kind of cut to like a mini recruitment montage, which is really just one person being recruited and then meeting everyone at a hangar. So Cole's hanging out at the... I feel like were the Wild Force Rangers just always hanging out at the park? I feel like they were just always there, probably trying to hide from Shayla, who's trying to get them jackets. But anyway, Carter shows up and he's like, Carter Grayson, Lightspeed Rescue. I'm like, God, I almost want to beat you up. Recruits him, and then they go back to the hangar, and he starts meeting all the Red Rangers. You know, Wes and Eric shows up, and he knows them because they obviously just did the team up, so that was a nice bit. And it also kind of makes me wonder why they didn't send those two to pick him up, since he knew them. Like, that's a really nitpick, but whatever. And then TJ shows up, Theodore J, Jarvis Johnson, GOAT! And then, obviously, too, we have a scene before he shows up at the hangar, where Bulk and Skull are, like, at this tropical cafe thing, and then they give the phone to Pimp Daddy Tommy, who's got a call, because they were like building Tommy up to be something different, like, oh my god, he's a paleontologist, he's so famous! Tommy shows up, and then, you know, Andros is obviously there, and he's like, Astro Mega Ship Mark II. I don't know why Andros sounds like that. Andros sounds like this. I'm gonna save you, Crown! You know, from the Dino Fury episode. Or Dino Fury. Beast Morphers episode. I thought there was one more Red Ranger, and then Jason shows up on the bike. He kind of gives everyone a once-over, and he's like, you wouldn't do this without the original Red Ranger, and he and Tommy, you know, do their, like, Predator thing where they're, like, clasping hands, and JDF and ASG are like, I hate you so much, I hate you so much, I hate you so much, but outside they're like, golly gee, I'm NPR, but inside they're like, I hate you so much, I hate you so much. All grouped together now. And then on the mega ship, they go over the plan, and they're talking about, oh, the Machine Empire is trying to revive Serpentera, and then Tommy's like, we destroyed their leaders. I'm like, did you though? A little bit of a hiccup there, because if I remember right, based on the interview, the guy that wrote this treated like this not done Zeo finale as canon for this, because in Zeo had like a non-ending. Like, not like Fize's non-ending, but like a really, like, it just didn't really end in a weird, like, they finished the Gold Ranger power story, and then Rita and Zed blew up the Machine Empire with a bomb. It's a bomb! The original, this is the bomb. Nothing beats the original. Just kidding, the only original can't be Venus Klaus. That is just kind of weird. There's some weird issues with that, which I'll get to in a second. But they arrive on the moon. We get a civilian fight in what I think is the same little warehouse thing from the Reinforcements fight. And we get to see a little bit of all their different styles, which is cool. And then the Beetleborgs are walking out to stop Serpentera. And they're like, we must get on Serpentera! And I always thought the way they walked was really funny. And then Cole's like, stop! And then he goes on. Like, that was also, like, why you just go after them? You don't have to go, stop! So then they go out, and then we morph. We do the Ranger fight, and they all kind of pair off, which is really cool. The fight scenes in this are really good. The civilian fights were well choreographed. The Ranger fights were well choreographed because we kind of got to see everyone's different styles and then how they work together with different styles, especially ones like Andros and Carter, which did like kind of a gunslinger bit. And then, I forgot to mention, which you guys obviously know, before the roll call, Leo and Arika showed up because Leo was like, oh, I always got to be indecisive about team-ups. So they showed him earlier during the recruitment part of the show, pulling his Quasar Saber. Ah, thank you. Arika doesn't get an actor. So his part in the roll call is always weird because everyone's doing their morph and he's like, ready, Ranger, yeah! I don't know why he sounds so evil. And Shadowborg manages to actually get on Serpentera during the distraction. Like, how are we gonna stop him? Should we do a Zord battle? No, that was cut for budget. So they just get, the Wild Force Rider, we gotta sell a toy. And then all the other managers are like, we get it, we've all been there. So the Wild Force Rider destroys him, the day is saved. We get kind of a nice little scene of all the Rangers saying goodbye at the hangar. And, you know, the famous scene of Cole being like, Tommy, the greatest Ranger ever. And then, by the time I was baked in a giant pizza, kissing on Kimberly, Dragon's Word for lunch, yeah, you know, all the stuff. So, I mean, this is a very enjoyable episode. I certainly like it. I don't dislike it. It's got lots of really memorable parts. But it's always just been okay to me. Even when I was younger, when I first saw it, it was never that exciting. Maybe it's because this still felt so close in the era where everything was connected, so the crossovers didn't seem as exciting to me. And I think there's been better ones later with some cooler interactions and bits. And this one was just so rushed. And I know there's lots of behind the scenes info out there now about how they wanted to make it more parts. There's the whole stuff about the hexagon idea, that if they would have continued, there was a small chance that this would have been like a mini setup for the hexagon idea with what they did with Tommy. There was even talk of a Zord battle. There was all kinds of stuff that was supposed to be in it. And like I said, stuff like him using that faux Zeo finale in this that was weird. And PR always, especially in crossovers, has moments of continuity question, and this certainly had a lot of them, especially in cases of Ranger powers that were supposed to be destroyed. You know, stuff like TJ, where after this and before this, when he's seen he's with the Unspace team, but for whatever reason he's like turboed up. But that one, there's like a good headcanon there where Justin got his morpher from Mountain Blaster, so it's easy to assume that for this mission he got his duplicate morpher from Lightning Cruiser. So it's one of those things where there's definitely some more glaring continuity issues, but a lot of them you can kind of easily headcanon. And I'm not saying in a way that like, oh, they can be forgiven for not explaining it, but if you just use some logic, it's not that difficult. But there definitely was some mistakes there. I think the only one that really bothered me was the Zeo one with the they destroyed their leaders. Like, no you didn't, come on son. And then Bulk and Skull being on Earth, which obviously becomes a problem again later in Samurai, but they made such a big deal in Lost Galaxy about how you can't return to Earth, and then obviously I guess the Galaxy Rangers have been returning to Earth, so they kind of set that up, but it would have been nice to have a throwaway line about that. Like in Samurai, I kind of get it, why there wasn't one. I mean, A, because we already knew Bulk was back on Earth from Forever Red, and also it had been so far removed, it was Power Rangers relaunch, you don't want to confuse any new viewers with like, oh, Miranoi, kids are like, what's a Miranoi? So I get that, but here, it was not only so close, but it wasn't that long ago that a Lost Galaxy Ranger returned in a previous season, so it would have been nice to get a little bit of a mention. But like I said, everything was just really rushed. It felt like just kind of a checklist of fan servicey things, you know, like, oh, here's these guys fighting together, standing together. I wish there would have been some more interactions. The interactions there were pretty neat. Like, I liked the ending scene. That's probably one of my favorite scenes. It's just kind of riffing on certain aspects of things that have happened in the past, and kind of like, you know, Tommy kissing on Kimberly was a funny line. I liked those scenes. I just liked the idea and the scene of them all around the Astro Megaship. This was one of the first ones, I guess outside of Wes's throwaway line and reinforcements in the future about lots of Rangers being out there, but this is kind of one of the first ones where you get the idea that, you know, outside of whatever the current show you're watching, the other Rangers get to know each other and connect and go on different adventures, and I kind of like that, and I can see why this would be a better setup for Hexagon and things of that nature. But rewatching it especially, it feels like almost like a webisode, where they're like, oh, for the 10th anniversary, watch this cool webisode online, and it's just kind of short and condensed, and I kind of wish that it just had a little bit more to it. You know, there was lots of big stuff that was cut from the longer 2 parts, but I would have been even fine if they had not done Serpentera and cut some of the budget for the bigger effect stuff and had more nice character moments, and we had a nice 2-parter and just let it breathe, because it's always just so rushed and none of it was ever that exciting to me. Like I said though, the fight scenes were cool, and the dual fight scenes where they kind of showed off everyone's style were cool. I also did like the plot of this. I thought it was a cool plot idea of the Machine Empire trying to revive Serpentera, because like it brought up previous seasons and tied them together in a way that didn't not make sense. You know what I mean? Don't bother Luke. I don't know how much clearer I can make it, but I thought that was kind of a cool way of tying it together, even if it was a bit rushed. It was definitely weird that they used the Beetleborg suits. You know, I wish they kind of would have used something else, because it was a bit strange. I mean, I guess you have Andros there at the beginning being like, oh man, I gotta go call the other Rangers, we gotta stop these guys before they go Metallics. Even though a few of them were technically from Metallics, but they weren't Metallics. I mean, I guess at the end of the day, my biggest problem with this episode is that every Ranger in the show is an idiot, because they didn't realize that to defeat the Shadowborg, you need the White Blaster Beetleborg, and they never even tried to call Art Fortunes. So overall, this was always an okay team up for me. I like it just fine, but it was always just middle of the road, a little bit more fan servicey than stuff that I enjoyed, and I would give it a 7 personally. Just don't attack me, even though you probably will. But next time is going to be one of my more personal favorites, which is the Thunderstorm one, so I'm looking forward to that. But what do you guys think of Forever Red? What do you guys think of Forever Red and Forever Red? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell in case you see my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.